live. Okay, guys, this is a quick stream here. I didn't really do that much preparing, but there was something that happened today. I just have to get it off my chest. Okay, I've been following presidential elections since 1988. That's the contest between Michael Dukakis and George H.W. Bush. So I'm very familiar with October Surprises, how every time the week before an election happens, both sides like to try to roll out these big events. They try to get one up on the other guys. And so today, this is one of the lamest October surprises that I've ever seen. Okay, let me set the stage for this a little bit. Okay, back in 2018, an op-ed appeared in the New York Times. It was authored by Anonymous, because it was claimed this was a highly placed top official inside the Trump White House. Inside, not outside, inside the Trump White House. So this was somebody big. This was somebody. Trump brought these people into the White House. This is supposed to be somebody. I guess, is it a cabinet member? Is it his chief of staff? Is it John Kelly? Who is it? God damn, this is amazing. Somebody inside Trump's White House wrote this op-ed. And if you read that op-ed, basically this guy is saying we are the resistance. Right here, inside the Trump White House, we're all plotting with each other about how we're going to take this president down. Because he's dangerous, and this man has no character. And by God, it's up to us to stop him because we're true American patriots and all this stuff. And so it was a tedious piece of work, but the media went astray. It was like throwing gasoline on a fire. Trump's own people are plotting against him. People he gave these jobs to are planning on taking him out. This is awesome. So of course, this anonymous guy took this op-ed and he turned it into an entire book. It was published and became a bestseller. And so there was a lot of speculation. People doing their chin stroking. Who is Anonymous? Yes. It was a question that very important question that was pondered for weeks, months even, in the news media. Who could this possibly be? We got all kinds of speculative articles from both sides, the left, right, conservative, liberal. They were all speculating who this is. Who could possibly have written this damn thing? Okay, so some people said, is this John Kelly? Is this Mattis? Is this, oh my God, is this Mike Pence? Okay, and we even had Ann Coulter come out and say she suspected this was Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner. Stabbing the old man in the back. So for months this winter, it kind of died down. Nobody really thought about it much the last year. But back in 2018, this was a big thing. Okay, and so now we're like, 6 days from the election, and all of a sudden, Anonymous decides to go public. And the media tried to key this up like this was a big, astounding revelation. This is going to be big news. Anonymous is taking off his mask. He's going to show us who he is. This is fantastic. Of course, this is being done to bury the Tony Bobulinski stuff, of course. This is so they can talk about something else besides the fact that they're not covering all this evidence that Tony Bobulinski is bringing out publicly. This allows them to talk about something else. So So here we go. So today it turns out that this guy they just hired like 1 month ago to be a contributor at CNN is anonymous. And Anderson Cooper, somebody even asked this guy before he was hired by CNN. He was asked on camera, "Are you anonymous?" And he said, "No, I'm not." So he lied to CNN, and he said he's not anonymous. And here's the big thing, okay? After all that hype back in 2018, trying to pretend this was some big, important White House person, some official with some clout, with some policy making power, somebody that was influential inside the White House. And today it turns out this was some low-level staffer at the Department of Homeland Security, the chief of staff to Kirstjen Nielsen and Chad Wolf, who nobody ever heard of. I mean, when they announced this, this is what I did when I said, okay, Miles Taylor, everybody, Miles Taylor is anonymous. I said, who? I mean, I literally did that. I literally did that. Wait a minute. Weren't we told for months this was a key person inside the Trump White House? Weren't we told that? And Drew Holden did a thread today. Let's see if I can find it real quick. So I can link it. I forgot to link it in a thing. But Drew Holden did a fantastic thread today about how they hyped this anonymous guy up to the moon. And then it turned out that it's just this nobody. It's a nobody. Okay, here's that thread right here. Drew Holden. I'm going to link it in the chat so you can all see it. Okay, I'm going to turn the desktop capture off real quick. Okay, but that's the link to that thread. Well, Drew Holden, God bless him. He does great work on Twitter. You should all follow Drew if you're not following him yet. And he goes through step by step how all these people, and the New York Times had to know. The New York Times had to know they were overselling this guy. He was literally nobody. He wasn't even Department of Homeland Security Chief of Staff when he wrote the op-ed. He hadn't even assumed that job yet. He was just a policy advisor. So he was literally nobody. He wasn't inside the White House. He wasn't some big influential person brought inside Trump's White House, after the transition. He was nobody. And so the New York Times had to know this. They knew they were taking this nobody who was writing this op-ed and turning him into, because this is why they use anonymous sources. People, this is a perfect example about why they do this. They use anonymous sources so they can oversell them to you. That's the whole point. We have a media that's gone insane. They're using anonymous sources for just about everything they report on now. And there's the two reasons that they do that. There's two reasons. Two reasons why they do that, okay? The first reason is so you won't know when these sources are wrong, and they go back to those sources in the future. After they get fed a fake leak, and the story, you know how many stories blew up on the fake news media in the last 5 years? Hundreds of them. Reported by the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, all these news organizations. Their fake stories blew up on them. Sometimes it doesn't even take a couple of days anymore. They blow up in a matter of hours. But they're still using, I guarantee you, they're still using the same sources because these reporters are lazy. They don't want to get up off their ass and go develop new sources. So they stick with the same anonymous sources who've already steered them wrong multiple times. It's because they're lazy. They stick with the same anonymous sources. And because you don't know who the source was for that story they got wrong last month, you have no idea that that lazy freaking reporter is going back to the same guy to hear the latest scuttlebutt and then reporting that as news. You know, I've talked about this often. D.C. is a weird town, man. D.C. is a town where 3/4 of the people in there have no real influence. They're all lawyers or lobbyists or defense contractors or whatever. Everybody wants to be in that 25%. Everybody wants to be one of the real influential people. And they all lust to be in that top 25%, the real movers and shakers in that town. So the number of people out there who will bullshit you to pretend that they're connected and that they're in there and they have the inside scoop is astronomical. Because basically that town has a bunch of people in it. They do nothing but try to shop themselves to reporters, trying to pretend that they know stuff they actually don't know, that they have connections they actually don't have. So let me give an example. %90 of the people that work in the White House don't really know what the hell is going on. They don't really know what Trump is actually doing, what his plans actually are. They don't know. They're out of the loop. You know, Trump, when Trump is setting things in motion, that's real planning, real strategy, that is highly compartmentalized. There are very few people that are really going to know what's actually going on. Okay? So there's 90% of people working in the White House. They're out there doing their jobs or whatever. Okay? But they don't really know what's going on. But there are people in that White House that want to pretend, they present themselves to the outside world. I work in the White House. I'm a White House insider. I'm in there, man. I have the inside baseball stuff. And they go and they talk to a reporter and they sell the reporter on this idea that I know what's really going on in there. Yeah. I know, you need to trust me. I know what's really going on in there, and I'll give you the inside baseball stuff. And what are they doing? They're passing on scuttlebutt. That's all they're doing. They're not in the loop. They're one of the 90% that doesn't know shit. Okay, they don't know anything. So they're just taking the latest scuttlebutt and they're going to their reporter friends and they're passing along the scuttlebutt as news. And the reporters take that and they turn that into a news story. Okay, so that's like 90% of the stuff that comes out of the White House, the reporting on the White House, is some White House insider that doesn't know shit passing on rumors to reporter friends. That's all that is. And remember, there's an added dimension in here. I've talked about it often. Trump himself and his team will feed fake leaks to the press. Yes. So some of this has always gone on. People who aren't in the know, they aren't in the loop, pretending they are, and feeding scuttlebutt rumors to their media friends so they can look like a big shot insider. But the other dimension of this is that sometimes Trump and his team are actually feeding fake leaks to the news reporters. Okay? So very few people know what's really going on. And those people are, and the Trump administration, they're not going to leak. People who really know the real inside stuff are not going to leak. So So this is what happens. Reporters in this town want they want to be able to write something, okay? Like there was a story that appeared in the American Spectator about 2 months ago. Amber Athey wrote it. I questioned her about this. She said these are real White House insiders. These people work in the White House. They see Jared every day. Trump brought them into the White House. Yes. So to her, the stuff they gave to her passed the smell test. These are White House insiders. They work with Jared. Okay, but what was the content of the article? Well, the content of the article was pretty much that Jared is a screw-up. Jared is messing everything up. Jared Kushner is an incompetent doofus who has no idea what he's doing, and Trump really needs to stop listening to Jared Kushner and start listening to these anonymous sources. You know, Trump is really doing something, you know, not too bright. He keeps listening to his son-in-law. You know, he keeps messing up everything. No, that was the White House insiders telling her that, okay? And this story appeared like about 3 weeks before all this news broke about what Jared Kushner has really been doing in the Middle East, about all the stuff he's really been doing, setting up all these peace deals between Israel and these Arab nations. Okay, so like I said, once you figure this out, somebody can work in the White House and not have a damn clue what's actually going on, what's actually about to happen, what job somebody really has, and what kind of things they're really doing. But they work in the White House, so they are. I mean, did they lie to Amber? No, they didn't. They're White House insiders, aren't they? They work in the White House. Yes, they do. They see Kushner every day. Yes, they do. Did they lie to her? No. Well, no. They just don't know what the hell's going on. They're passing their own biases and scuttlebutt onto her. That's all they're doing. It's being reported as news. Okay, that's how it works in that town. So they use anonymous sources because they're lazy. And they stick with the same anonymous sources because developing sources is hard work. You have to get out there and establish relationships with people. And it takes a while to develop trust with a real inside source. And it's far easier just to sit on your ass and call up the same guy who fed you that bullshit story a month ago and ask him what the latest scuttlebutt is. It's so easy. And so that's why they do it. That's why they stick with all these anonymous sources. That's the first reason. So they can keep using the same people, passing on the same scuttlebutt. And so they can report that as news. That's reason number one, that they use anonymous sources. Reason number two is so they can oversell the sources to you. I've got somebody talking to me, and he's really in there. He's really connected. He's at the top, man. I have the highest sources, the best sources, you know. And this highly placed source told me this, you know, and so they oversell it to you. And if you knew who that really was, you know, that's the executive assistant to the deputy director to the, you know, that's like the guy way down here on the totem pole. You have the executive top guy in that agency, and then you have the deputy, and then you have the deputy assistant, and then you have the chief of staff to the deputy assistant, and that's who the source is. But they're not going to tell you that. Why would they tell you that? No, so I got a top official. I got somebody who's really in there. And so they oversell the anonymous sources to you. So they use the anonymous sources who don't really know what's going on, and they oversell these sources to you, and they make them sound like they're way more important than they really are. And this is how they keep passing on their fake news to you. And so now it's revealed today, after 2 years, that this dumbass, who was the chief of staff at the Department of Homeland Security, is anonymous. He wasn't even anonymous when he wrote the op-ed. So the New York Times knew exactly what they were doing. They were taking a minor functionary at DHS, and they were making it look like this guy was a White House insider, somebody with clout, somebody that maybe even a cabinet member, maybe even like the Secretary of Defense or the Secretary of Education, or somebody with real influence and power. There's somebody that Trump had personally picked for that job. And I tell you what, Trump didn't personally pick Miles Taylor to do jack shit. He didn't even know who this guy is. So we look back now, 2 years ago, this is what they were doing. They hyped this guy up to the moon. And now here we are, a week from the election. Well, 6 days from the election. And they think it's going to be some kind of effective October surprise to suddenly spring this on everybody. Here he comes, anonymous. Here he is. Okay, and let me show you. Oh, you can see if the sound works on this clip. When this guy was interviewed, Miles Taylor, anonymous, unmasked himself. He was interviewed on CNN today. Listen to what he said about himself.
I had no fear about putting my own name on the line here.
Okay, it started over here.
And if you go back in time, Chris, our founding fathers did this. When they wrote the Federalist Papers to defend the passage of the Constitution, did they do it in their own names? They did it under pseudonyms, and they did it for a reason. Is Madison and the other authors didn't want it to be about them and their personalities. They wanted the people to debate the ideas. And I wrote this, Chris, because I wanted people to debate the ideas and Donald Trump's character and record. But again, I want to point out to you, I had no fear about putting my own name on the line here.
How much of a freaking narcissist do you have to be to say that? You know what my response was to hearing this guy comparing himself to Publius and the people that wrote the Federalist Papers? Here was my response to that. I mean, how much of a freaking narcissist do you have to be to describe yourself this way? I mean, nobody knew who this guy was. They hyped him through the roof. They made him sound like he was somebody important. And then they roll him out now, this week, as some type of October surprise. They really seem to think, guys, this was going to have some effect. This was going to be some type of game changer. This was going to, be some huge distraction from the Bobulinski stuff. That's how desperate they've gotten. You look at the things that they've been rolling out for the last 2 months, they don't have anything. Now, so you have people out there that do nothing but spread fear porn. I'm telling you, they're not saving the big one. The Democrats, they're not saving the super secret, serious October surprise for this weekend. Okay, they're not. They have nothing. If they had it, they'd have dropped it by now. That's how frantic, that's how desperate they're getting. They'd have dropped it a long time ago. That's why you got nothing but stories that are based on it. Fake sources like Trump called our soldiers suckers and losers. You got the Russian bounty crap. You got the Trump bank account in China crap. And now this. Now they bring out anonymous. Aha! Stop! You can't vote for this guy because some low-level flunky at DHS said he has no character. Oh. Okay. How pathetic is that? That's pathetic, isn't it? Yeah, it is. I mean, this is what they're reduced to. This is what they got. Not to mention the sad, pathetic spectacle that we got the other day when Joe Biden had a senior moment during a live stream. He couldn't remember who he was running against. He said, it'll be if we get 4 more years of George and his wife sitting right next to him. Stage whispers, Trump. And then they come out and they spend all the next day claiming to you that Biden was talking about 4 more years of George Lopez. Okay. That is beyond pathetic. These people have lost their mojo, guys. They've lost their mojo. I cannot wait for next Tuesday night. I cannot wait for Tuesday night. Because the power of these people is going to be broken forever. They are in denial right now. They've convinced themselves that 2016 was just a glitch. Okay, there were a couple mistakes that were made. Things they probably shouldn't have done. You know, if they gave Trump all that free airtime, they're not giving him any. They're not covering his rallies this time. Only Fox is covering the rallies. So they confessed it. This time they fixed it. They fixed the mistakes they made in 2016. They're not giving Trump $1 billion worth of free airtime. And so they fixed it. This time it's going to work. This time they're going to throw the election to Biden. Fake news media, fake polling, big tech, they're all going to make it happen for Biden. They sit around all day and they tell themselves this. We even have people on our own side telling you that this will work. They do have this influence they claim they have. I wrote a column back 2 months ago where I said, big tech censorship will not prevent Trump from winning in a landslide. You're watching it happen. You're going to watch it happen. What happens when they try to censor everything? What happens is it backfires on them. Everybody gets a lesson in the Streisand effect. Literally everybody knows what the Streisand effect now is. So these people sit around all day and they talk about this amazing superpowers that they have, and they're making things happen. You know, and they're going to decide this outcome. They're going to keep suppressing this information, and nobody's going to see it. And this is going to throw the election to Biden. It's bullshit. They don't have this power they think they have. That's another reason I cannot wait for Tuesday night. It's going to kill this myth dead once and for all. That they still have their mojo. That they still have this amazing superpower of determining outcomes by suppressing information and controlling what people see and hear. Some of them, the true believers, they live in a bubble. They're in denial. They still think they can pull it off. And next Tuesday night is when they discover that it's not true. It's not true. They've been lying to themselves for 4 years now. And that's when they're going to mentally break. When they see that Trump not only wins, he's going to win overwhelmingly. All this stuff they've been telling themselves, that their censorship is working, their fake news stories are working, their anonymous leaks are working. That's when it hits them. And it's going to be glorious to see. They're going to I talk about the Bush flu in 2004. People going around saying, I can't go to work. I have to go see my therapist. I don't feel good. Bush flu. And then 2016, they said, well, we just made a couple of mistakes. Trump managed to slip in there and win a close one. Oh, well. But 2020, see, they've gone all in on 2020. They didn't hold anything back. Every single dirty trick they could come up with, they pulled it. Every single dirty trick. Right now, what are they doing? They're suppressing a story that makes Watergate look like nothing. Okay, a vice presidential candidate was setting up business deals with CCP regime officials and hiding this from the public and getting secret $5 million loans sent to his family through his crackhead son. This is a major story. The media doesn't want to cover it, but in trying to suppress it, all they're doing is blowing it up. I mean, who doesn't know about it? Tucker Carlson's got the #1 rated show in America right now, and that broadcast he had last night, I believe it set records. It set viewership records, which means millions of people now know about Tony Bobulinski. They didn't know about him before. because they tried to censor it. See, this is the stupidity of these people. They think their censorship works. A month ago, people were claiming that the censorship was going to work. Dr. Epstein, was claiming that the censorship was going to work, and that and that the GOP and Trump had no path to victory because Facebook wasn't going to let Trump run any ads on their platform. And so Trump just would not be able to get his message out. And so that this is how they were going to throw the election to Biden. It was all crap. I knew back when people were bringing me that article that Epstein wrote for Breitbart and for these other sites, trying to say, well, we're doomed. Big tech is going to throw the election to Biden, and there's nothing that we can do to stop it. And people were bringing that to me, saying, "Oh my God!" I'm like, the only people that tell you about the amazing superpowers of social media and big tech are people who work on social media. They're social media creatures. They're big tech creatures. Like, I'm a big tech creature. How did I get these column writing jobs? I got 2 column writing. I write for 2 sites right now, Epoch Times and Uncover DC. How did I get those jobs? Well, I did Twitter threads. I did long Twitter threads. That's how I got noticed. I got invited to write some columns, and that's how I got the column writing job. So yeah, I'm a social media creature myself. I have 250,000 followers on Twitter. So yeah. I know that social media has power and social media has influence, but I understand that when these people, it goes to their heads and some of these people start thinking that this means they have way more influence than they really do, and they can determine the outcome of elections. I don't buy that for a minute, because the internet is too free. They cannot control the information like they used to. If they could do what they claim they could do, nobody would know about Tony Bobulinski. What happened when Twitter and Facebook tried to censor the New York Post story? What happened? It blew up. Who would not be able to see that coming? They tried to censor it, and it blew up. No, more people know about it than ever. So there are some people out there try to talk you into believing social media has these super godlike powers, and the people who run social media, Now, I'm not saying that their censorship doesn't have any influence at all. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's not a bad thing that they try to censor conservatives and they try to censor news stories that they don't like. Yes, they're trying. They're making an attempt to determine the outcome. But what I'm telling you is they can't do it. They're deluded. They're delusional. These people that think that they can determine who wins an election by suppressing news and trying to control what people see and hear on their platforms, it's delusional. And that's why this is an important election. It's important not only because Donald Trump is going to get reelected in a massive landslide. It's important because, as I've been saying for a couple of days now, I've been doing a countdown. This is the election that's going to mentally break a lot of these people, because they went all in. They held nothing back. They did every dirty trick they could think of. They had all their chips. They didn't hold back one single chip. They took all their chips and they pushed their chips into the middle of the table, and they've bet it all on one hand that they can get rid of Donald Trump. They held nothing back. And when it doesn't go their way, I don't think it's going to take that long either, because if you don't follow Larry Schweikart and Tracy Beans on Twitter, you need to. They are covering the early voting totals, and they're showing how the early Democratic leads and the vote by mail are now being wiped out by in-person voting, the early in-person voting. And so what's going to happen is this overwhelming landslide is coming, and all these people that just a week ago were saying that yeah, it's going to be called on election night. Thank you. They've been trying to sell these narratives that we won't know who won the election for months. It's going to drag into January. No, you watch. We'll know who won on election night. We'll know who won on election night because the in-person voting is wiping out the vote by now. It's wiping it out. They've never had engagement like this. I think they said the other day the number of people who already voted in this election early surpassed the vote totals in Texas in 2016. It's already passed it. And you think all those people are going out there and standing in line to vote for Joe Biden in Texas? Well, let me just say, you don't know Texas. So this is what's coming, man. It's gonna mentally break a lot of these people. It's gonna make the Bush flu and all the crying you saw in 2016. This will be something that will be epic. It'll be biblical because they didn't think Trump had a chance to win last time. They thought Hillary had it in the bag. They thought Hillary was going to win going away, and they were shocked. So that what they told themselves is we didn't prepare hard enough. We didn't try hard enough. We made mistakes. We gave Trump all that free publicity. You had MSNBC and CNN and NBC and all these other news stations all covering his rallies live because they figured everybody was laughing at Trump the same way they were. And they didn't understand that Trump was getting through to people. So this time they said, okay, we won't cover his rallies. And they don't. They don't cover any. You watch CNN and all these other channels. Fox News is the only one that covers Trump's rallies. Some of Trump's rallies. They don't cover all of it, but they'll cover most of Trump's rallies on Fox News. The other ones are saying, okay, we learned from last time. We're gonna keep Trump from getting his message out. We're not gonna cover his rallies. And so they think they have everything ready. They're using their big tech censorship. They're using their fake news. They're using their fake polls to convince everybody Biden had this in the bag. Biden's already so far ahead. And I found out around noon today Biden and Obama are going to Michigan. They're campaigning in Michigan this week. Weren't they up like 10 points in Michigan? Didn't they have like a double-digit lead there or something? This is the final week. Why would they be going to, if they got this in the bag, why are they going to Michigan? And so you will always have people trying to tell you that disaster is just around the corner. They do nothing but, they make bank off your fears. This is about the only, they get paid based on your panic. They always try to stir you up and they always try to present you the worst case scenario. From where we are now, here's the worst case scenario, and they start shopping that to you. Okay, well, I don't like people that do that, because if all you're trying to do is stir people up and get them all fearful and get them all believing that disaster is looming around the corner, that makes them feel powerless. If you notice, Trump does not sell fear. Trump sells hope, love, and power. You are powerful. You are making a difference. You are making things change. You are helping me change this country. That's what Trump does. He does the exact opposite of a fear porn peddler. Fear porn peddler. Trump is the exact opposite of that. He calls on people to be energized and active and get out there and vote and help him change this country and help him save this country. And that is the exact opposite of a fear porn peddler saying, oh, well, it doesn't matter if you vote, they're going to steal it. Doesn't matter what you do, they're going to steal it. I see these people in the comments on my threads all the time. I block them. I don't even engage them. I just block them and move on. Because I've seen that personality type. It's, a lot of times it's the personality type. That's just the way they are mentally. they sit around all day and try to come up with scenarios where disaster happens on November 3rd. And there are people they'll be happy to do nothing but spin scenarios to you all day long about how they're going to steal it. And Trump's blind to it, and Trump's not doing anything, and Trump's yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. Okay, who's got time for that? I got no time for that. I'm busy doing things. I'm writing 3 different columns right now. One of them is to debut once we know the outcome is declared on November 3rd. I've got 1 column all ready to go about naked emperors. I can't wait to publish that one. I've got 2 others going on right now. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of things to look forward to. At midnight, we'll be 5 days away from Trump getting reelected. And like I said, there's more things that are going to drop. And today, because they're so desperate to stop the Tony Bobulinski story, they rolled out Miles Taylor as anonymous, and they tried to turn that into an October surprise, and it's just about the most pathetic thing ever that I've ever seen. And they actually think it helps to bring this guy who doesn't even look like he's old enough to shave yet. They think it actually helps to bring this guy
I had no fear about putting my own name on the line here.
Yeah, they think it actually helps to bring this guy onto CNN so he can brag about how he's just like John Jay and James Madison right in the Federalist Papers. It's like, what kind of different universe do you have to live in? I think the people watching this guy, are going to buy that argument that this is some type of hero. He's like the founding father, and he's a noble person, and he's just a flaming narcissist. That's all he is. And this will always be the story about Miles Taylor. When they finally rolled him out, and everybody saw who it was, that's good. That is what the history is gonna be. Nobody knew who the hell that guy even was. They had to go look him up. I like to think I'm pretty dialed in there, politically. That I know who the top staff from the White House are, who those people are. And so, yeah, I admit, back in 2018 when they were saying this is a top White House person, he's probably a cabinet member. This is somebody who's really high up in there. And I admit that I kind of wondered who that could be. If it really was somebody in the White House, somebody in the top position with some authority and some policy-making power, who could it be? Okay, I admit that I did that. I spent time wondering about that. Now we look back, and it's laughable. It's hilarious. And so, this one reason why I'm looking forward to November 3rd is the power of the fake news media is going to be broken. They've used the anonymous bullshit too many times. They've used anonymous sources. And they've done the 2 things I want you to take away from this live stream. The 2 reasons they use anonymous sources. So they can keep using them after they've been wrong repeatedly. And you don't know if they're going back to the same crappy, cruddy, shitty anonymous sources that got everything wrong in the past. Because they're too lazy to get up off their ass and go develop new sources. And they're also using anonymous sources so they can oversell them to you and pump them up and give their fake news story, prestige that it doesn't deserve. So they claim that this person is more connected or more highly placed than they really are. Okay, they've been pulling this crap for decades. They've just gotten more blatant about it. Trump's literally forced them out into the open where you can see what they're doing. And they used to be a lot more clever about how they did this kind of thing. They used to have some finesse to it. And I think, trying to remember who it was, somebody wrote an essay a while back about how a lot of the people that are running DNC media right now are in their mid-20s to 30s, and they did not come up in traditional political newsrooms. Traditional media newsrooms. They came up in political campaigns. No, they did not get journalism school, and they did not come up in a traditional newsroom. They came up in online media, and they came over from political campaigns. Well, it's all about spin. It's all about bullshit. Basically, they're bullshitters, and so this is why the media is in the desperate position it's in right now. Okay, as we get ready to end the stream, I guess I'll take some questions if anybody has some questions. Somebody says they thought it was Bolton. Well, I thought this was before Bolton was brought in. It was happening around the time Bolton was brought in. I have to go back and look at that. Somebody says, "Oh, you went to Bible college?" Yes, I did. I went to a small Bible college in Minnesota from 1985 to 1989. It's called Bethany College of Missions back then. And for the best years of my life, even though I froze my ass off every winter, I'm from Texas, and I discovered that in Minnesota the winters last half the year. And that's the one thing I didn't like about being up there. Okay. Talking about the election, I just don't see California, Washington, Oregon going right. Well, I think a lot of these states, are going to be closer than people think. Right now, when you see Obama and Biden rushing over to Michigan to campaign there in the final week, what does that tell you? Everybody was saying, I said you would see this. States that were supposedly safe blue states, you're going to see Trump campaigning there, and you're going to see the Democrats being forced to play defense. Okay? And we've seen stuff happen in the last 6 months that nobody ever expected to see. The Democrats doing all kinds of insane things. So, yeah, I think Trump can win 45 states. Yes, I do. We'll have the results on Tuesday night. The voting in person will be of such a magnitude, the vote by mails won't matter. They'll take a look at all the vote by mails that came in, the number of them, and they'll see the number of all the votes they got in person, the in-person votes, especially those on election day, and the vote by mail simply not going to matter in the totals, and Trump will be declared the winner on election night. No, I'm not Lutheran. I went to a non-denominational Bible college. No. Senator is an anagram for treason. Yeah, I never considered that. Yeah, Trump's not going to win all 50 states. I don't see Trump winning New York or California. I don't see him winning Maine, New Hampshire, Delaware. But I believe he'll get 45 because he'll win Minnesota. I'm telling you. I mean, there are things that people have seen. See, none of the field porn peddlers, people that spend all the time out there talking about the coming disaster for Trump. I'm not talking about the people on our side, conservatives. They'll talk about how the Democrats are going to steal this election. They never talk to you about walkaway, do they? Right? They ever talk to you about walkaway? I know all about walkaway. I've gone to their events. Okay? Walkaway is real. There are literally millions of people in this country. And not all of them make a video. Not all of them declare that they've walked away. But there are millions of people in this country that walked away from the Democratic Party since January. They see all the insane shit that the Democrats, and I mean, look at New York City right now. What is de Blasio doing? He's literally singling out the Jewish population for special measures. I mean, Jesus. So there are a lot of people that got woke in the last 6 months, but they got woke in a different way. Not the way that the left would like. They got woke in a different way. And they walked away. I mean, how many videos have you seen of people saying, I voted for Trump in 2016, and now I can't stand that son of a bitch, and I'm voting Joe Biden this time. How many videos do you see like that? Do you go onto YouTube or even on Twitter and you look for videos of people who are black and Hispanic and gay and did not vote for Trump in 2016? And now they're making videos and they're giving public testimonies about how they can't wait to vote for Trump this time. There are literally thousands. You can find thousands of those. I'm telling you, walk away is real. The Democrats, with the infrastructure they have in place, they can only steal the close ones. They need to have a base of a particular size that comes out to vote so they can keep it close enough to steal. And what I'm telling you, or what Thomas Richter has been telling you, is that they don't have a base of sufficient size anymore. It shrank in the last 2 years. Brandon Straka can tell you that. Scott Pressler can tell you that. I can tell you that. Hey, remember, I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I was a never Trumper. How many, most of my followers know that, but probably some of you did not know that. I was not a Trump fan in November 2016. Far from it. I was one of the most insufferable never Trumpers on Twitter. From the time Trump declared to the time he won on election night. Yeah. I was an insufferable never Trumper. In fact, when I tell you, if you don't know, when I tell you who I voted for, you're going to laugh. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. Oh no. I wrote in Evan McMillan. And that lady, he was his running mate. I can't even remember what her name is. But that's something I will never live down. Okay, so I did not vote for Trump in 2016. Okay, that's okay. Brandon Straka didn't vote for Trump in 2016 either. Look at where he is now. Okay, there are awful lot of people who didn't vote for Trump in 2016 who are going to vote for him this time. Why? Because he's the best president this country has ever had. And people like me and people like Brandon Straka and all these Democrats, former Democrats, black, Hispanics, gays that you see making all these videos, they can see what this guy has done. They can see it. So the Democrat base isn't what it was even 2 years ago. See, they could flip a bunch of house races out in California. Remember what happened last time, 2018, the midterms, after election day came and went, there were about a dozen close house races. And so the Democrats used all their fun ballot harvesting tricks, and they flipped about a dozen races in California. In the week, it took them almost 2 weeks to do it, but they flipped a dozen house races in California. And they could do that because it was close enough. They only needed to make up, 1 or 2 points to win. 3 points, you're really, 3 points, you're really stretching it. Anything above 4 or 5 points, forget it, okay? They don't have the infrastructure to pull that out, so they can only steal it if it's close. Trump grew his base like a mofo the past 2 years. He grew it. Meanwhile, the Democrat base, no, it didn't grow. It shrank. the past 2 years. That gap, I talk about that gap a lot on Twitter. Okay, that gap is now so big they simply do not have the infrastructure to manufacture the number of votes after Election Day to flip the close races. They can't do it. Not to mention, the Supreme Court's already ruled several times that any ballot that isn't postmarked by Election Day can't be counted. Which means if they find ballots after Election Day and they bring them in, they try to get them counted, that they're not going to be counted. They have to be postmarked by November 3rd. So you'll see this play out. They'll be whining and crying. They tried this in Wisconsin, it didn't work. That's why I'm confident. That's why I know Trump is going to win. The Democratic base has shrunk like you wouldn't believe in the last 2 years. Now, a lot of this happened in just the last 11 months since COVID hit. And all these people have gotten a good look at the insane lunatics that are running this city. When they weren't paying attention, people like Lori Lightfoot and Ted Wheeler and Jenny Durkin and Bill de Blasio. It's just like they never really understood who these people were. They didn't understand who they were. And they spent 11 months finding out who these people are. Like, oh my God, I voted a lunatic into power in my city. And he's going to keep it locked down no matter what. He's going to sacrifice my family's business. He's going to sacrifice my job. He's going to keep my church closed. It's like, it's amazing. When you see what these people have been doing to their own citizens in these cities, okay, a lot of them are not public about it. They're not out there on the street corner waving a sign. I can't wait to vote out Jenny Durkin. I can't wait to vote out Lori Lightfoot. I can't wait to vote out Bill de Blasio. Okay. Most of them are not going to be public about it, but you'll see at the polls that they've had enough of these people. They've had enough. They finally woke up, and it was their own tyranny woke these people up. If de Blasio would do something like singling out the Jews in his city for special treatment. Which is what he's been doing for a couple of weeks now. I tell you what, I'll do my stream the way I want. Poop, poop. Why don't you go poop, poop elsewhere? I got a couple trolls in here. Are you, Yeah, okay, get rid of them. I don't want to see that. I'm trying to answer questions here. Okay. Diet Fish, you want to get him too. Yeah, okay. So I'm answering your questions now, and I don't want to see these trolls in here. I want to see real questions. Any deals for Biden after the election? Nope, I don't think so. A lot of this will be happening, a lot of stuff that's going to happen once Trump gets reelected in the overwhelming landslide. And people realize, there were a lot of people that were banking on him being gone in next January, having to step down. And they were, rubbing their hands over what they were going to do to the Trump family once they returned to private life. And Biden gets in there and Kamala Harris, and Biden steps aside and Harris takes over, soon after the inauguration. And, they were really going to be coming after the Trumps. Okay. When it starts dawning on these people, the Trump's not going anywhere. They're about to get 4 more years of Trump. Okay. Yeah, there's 4 more years of Trump coming. And they know, they know they're not going to survive it. They know they're not going to survive 4 more years of Trump. The globalist enterprise, the globalist class. What is he doing? You look at what Trump is doing right now. He's totally exposing China. It's like Victor's been saying in some recent threads. People have no idea how many politicians and members of this elite class in D.C. are bought by China. They have no idea. But it's a lot. It's extensive, and they don't just buy Democrats too. They buy Republicans. Okay, and so Trump is exposing China. Just this morning, we had a big development. I don't know if you saw that. The DOJ basically rolled up a CCP terrorist cell that was being used to run what they called an illegal Chinese law enforcement operation, where they were going around and trying to intimidate dissidents living inside the United States into returning to mainland China so they could be sent to prison. They actually had people over here doing that, finding out where the dissidents live and going out there and trying to intimidate and terrorize them. That's why I call it what it is, the terrorist cell. It said right there in the indictment that their goal was to terrorize these people and get them to go back to China so they could be arrested and sent to prison for opposing and the CCP. So 5 of these people were arrested this morning. It didn't really make the news because the whole Senate hearing with the big tech guys was going on. I didn't even bother to watch that. Let me tell you why I didn't bother to watch Jack and those guys testify. Okay, because I know what's going to happen. I've seen this happen so many years that I don't really think Congress is where important stuff gets done anymore, and not until Congress reforms itself. You're not going to see really important things coming out of Congress. I knew what was going to happen. They're going to bring in Jack. They're going to sit him there, and they're going to yell at him for a couple of hours, and then nothing will happen. They won't pass any new legislation, but everybody will feel better, because Jack got yelled at for a couple of hours. I've been saying for a long time, the real stuff comes out of the Department of Justice, and that's why the real important news happened last week, and most people didn't even pay attention to it. The Department of Justice sued Google with an antitrust lawsuit in coordination with 11 states. How many of you even remember that? Oh, no, but the real important thing is watching Jack get yelled at by some senators. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't really care about watching Jack get yelled at by some senators. I care about the antitrust lawsuit that was filed in conjunction with 11 states. That's where the real thing's going to happen. That's another thing about when it comes to Spygate. People say, oh, Lindsey Graham needs to do something. Chuck Grassley needs to do something. These senators need to do something. They need to hold hearings. Boom, boom, boom. Hold those hearings. Make something happen. If you haven't figured out by now, Congress is a dog and pony show. You're never going to figure that out. The only things of real lasting consequence that are going to affect anything, the way our Congress is working, doing its work right now, the only things that will have lasting consequence and affecting things are coming out of the executive branch, and that is the White House and the Department of Justice and the law enforcement. Okay? Now, I realize right now a whole bunch of people are telling you the FBI is so corrupt and the DOJ is so corrupt, nothing's ever going to happen. Nobody's ever going to jail. No indictments are coming. No plea deals are coming. Nothing's coming. It's all just one big joke, and so they put all their hope in what? because Barr is supposedly swamped. They put all their hope in what? They put all their hope in Congress. Congressional hearings to get to the end. Okay, well, let's say Lindsey Graham suddenly gets a hard-on for holding hearings and calling all these people and subpoenaing them, sitting them down, he and Ron Johnson both, and they start getting answers and everything, okay, and they get these guys out there and they sit them down and they get to the bottom of it, okay, what happens then? What do? Well, I'll tell you what the only thing they can do is, you're going to laugh. The only thing they can do is write a referral and send it to William Barr. Got that? They'll write a referral and send that to the guy that they're all saying is a swamp creature. Right? I mean, so that's why I don't put much faith in congressional hearings. Nothing ever really seems to come out of them. I watched them sit James Comey there in front of them multiple times and ask him all the wrong questions. I actually did on my old blog, I did a blog post about how when they sat James Comey in front of him, none of these senators and none of these Congress people knew what questions to ask. They all did grandstanding. They all wasted their time. He managed to get up out of there. This was after they questioned him for I think it was 5 hours. He managed to get up and walk out of there without even having told them how many memos there were. Okay, hold on. It gets better. He managed to get out of there not only without having told them exactly how many memos there were 7. Think about that. They questioned this guy for 5 hours. They never got him to say. They never asked him the question. Comey, tell us how many memos there are. How many did you write? Give us the number. 5 freaking hours they're questioning this guy. They don't ask him that question. Not only did they not ask him that question, he gets up and walks out of there without even telling them there were 7 memos. Okay. They never even got him to say how many of the memos he gave to that professor friend of his, one of which he leaked to the New York Times, Richmond, Professor Richmond. He gave Richmond 4 of the memos, okay? They never asked him. Okay, think about this. 5 hours of questioning this guy. Comey, how many memos did you give to Professor Richmond? Give us the number. So I don't put much stock in congressional hearings. Most of these people that are doing the questioning have no freaking idea what they're talking about, what questions they should ask. I'm going to wrap it up with one last question. Which was a bigger player, Harper or Misfit? There's no question about that. Harper. As a matter of fact, I've recently found out information about Misfit that makes me doubt Papadopoulos' whole account of this. Misfit may turn out to not be a Russian agent. He may turn out to not be a fake Russian agent after all. It may be that based on what I've learned, that the day before Papadopoulos had his meeting with Alexander Downer, Judge Napolitano was on Fox News, and Judge Napolitano, this was May 9th, and the meeting between Papadopoulos and Downer happened on May 10th, 2016. So, Judge Napolitano talked about having highly placed intelligence sources. Hi, Ayesha. Okay. Napolitano talked about having highly placed intelligence sources that told him that the Russians had Hillary Clinton's emails. Okay, this was the day before. So then when Papadopoulos has had this meeting set up with Downer, he goes in there. What happens is Papadopoulos wants to make himself seem important. Downer is the big shot politician in the UK. He's the Australian ambassador. So he starts talking about things that he's hearing. He's heard that the Russians have some dirt on Hillary Clinton. This is what he's hearing. And Downer, of course, later on turns this into an interpretation. When he hears about the DNC hacked emails being published by WikiLeaks, he alerts the U.S. officials that Papadopoulos was talking to him about this 2 months earlier. But it's 2 months earlier. So here's my current working theory. Okay. When the FBI responds to Downer's information by going to interview Papadopoulos, Papadopoulos doesn't want to say, "Oh shit, guys, I heard that on Fox News." That was Fox News that it was Judge Napolitano. I heard a rumor on Fox News, and I just told it to this Downer guy. Sorry about that. Looks like you guys, I'm sorry you guys wasted the trip. So it looks to me as though Papadopoulos decided to invent a story that makes him look like a James Bond figure, where he's the target of a sting. And that he has Joseph Misford playing the role of the fake Russian spy that's being sent to him by the FBI to set him up. So that's just a working theory right now. I mean, because it's true, I've checked this out. Yes, Napolitano was on Fox News the day before Papadopoulos had his meeting with Downer. He's talking about highly placed intelligence sources telling him that the Russians have Hillary Clinton's missing emails. Okay, so it may be that George didn't want to, he got scared, he didn't want to admit, I just heard the rumor I heard on TV, and he decided to invent a story. So that's something I'm exploring right now. Just want to be honest about that. I remember, I'm the guy that wrote the Epoch column, you know, the fake Russian spy who came in from the cold, back when I didn't understand any of the problem with the story that Papadopoulos was telling. You know, so there are things that are going to come out, I believe, when Durham reports. And if Papadopoulos has been playing around with some of the facts to try to make himself look more important than he really is, that's going to come out. I would hope that is not what he did. Okay, so that's all I had for tonight. We're going on over an hour now. I didn't really mean to go on that long. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Now, I plan on doing another live stream tomorrow night. And we're going to be going over the day's events, because I fully expect some more stuff to drop by tomorrow night. There will be drops every day. Today, we had more come out from the Tony Bobulinski story, and we had this absolutely hilarious fake, whistleblower story, anonymous. You know, turns out some low-level nobody that nobody ever heard of. Okay, so thanks for coming out, folks, and I'll see you